Again guys, welcome back to another Big Al Devlin video, and this video is all about cyclical training. So it's really good video out there for anyone who wants to learn how to put on a bit of size and a bit of strength. Now, cyclical training is a type of training, also known as phase training or transitional training or transitional phase training. It's got a few different names, but ultimately cyclical training is a form of training that allows you to put on over a longer period of time maximum amount of strength and a maximum amount of muscle. The whole point of it is that it doesn't allow your body to reach what you would describe as a plateau or a sort of a maximum sort of limit, and it helps you break through those sort of stopping points that you often get in training. The number of people you'll hear in the gym saying, oh, I've been stuck on 100 kilos for, or 220 pounds on the bench press for, I don't know, God knows how many years, 2-3 years, and I just can't seem to put on any more strength. Well, cyclical training is exactly what that is used for. It stops you getting into those ruts, so to speak, and it helps and allows you to continue putting on the size and strength over years and years and years. And so if you're fully dedicated to training and to getting as big and as strong as possible, say you're a competitive powerlifter, strongman, or just someone who likes to lift weights every day down the gym just for fun, then obviously this is a particular type of training that might be good for you. It's certainly not good for those who want to put on size quickly over a very short period of time and just don't really care about whether they keep it or not. For example, the type of guys who typically come in and pump up for a week or two, or maybe a month at most, before the summer season comes in, so that they look good on the beach. It's not for those kind of guys. They'll see zero results out of this type of training. But for those of you who are willing to commit a bit of time, then this is potentially a type of training routine that could work for you. There are others out there, so please, by all means, go out there and research as much as possible and experiment as much as possible until you find the type of training that works for you. But this is the type of training that works for me. It's the type of training that I practice and you'll see practice within my training series, Big Al's Big Workout. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. What is cyclical training? Well, cyclical training is, or phase training, whatever you want to call it, is where you train in a cycle and in a number of different phases. So basically you have per cycle 3 phases. Okay, you start with your first phase, then you move on to your medium phase, and then your last phase. Okay, and then you cycle that back round, so that once you finish your third phase, you go straight back into your first phase, your second phase, and then your third phase. Cycle it back round, first phase, second phase, third phase. Now, each phase of your training cycle is different. It requires a different type of mentality, a different type of reaction from your body. And so ultimately what you're doing is you're shocking the body into growth. You're shocking the body into not reaching a sort of habit, so to speak, where you go down to the gym, you do the same weights for the same reps, and you never progress. It stops you getting into that habitual type of training that you can very, very easily find yourself go into. Okay, and the way that typically what you would call the phases are not your first phase, your second phase, and your third phase, but your light phase, your medium phase, and your heavy phase, where the light, medium, and heavy literally translate from the types of weights that you use. In your light phase, you'll typically use weights that are around about 50% of your maximum lift, maybe a little bit under, and you can definitely go under, but you still need some decent weight to what you're lifting, because the repetition you're after is normally between 16 to 20 reps, although there will be certain specific workouts, special workouts that you'll do from time to time. That will be for something like 3 sets of 20, for example, or 10 sets of 10. But whatever weight that you pick, it's got to really work you. You've got to feel your muscles working, and it's also got to work your cardiovascular system also. There's no point putting a weight on there that's so light that you can't feel, that you basically get nothing out of your phase. Now, how long do you train the light phase for? Well, you train the light phase for exactly the same time period that you would train your medium phase and your heavy phase, and that time period is dictated by your body weight most of the time. Okay, so the little guys out there, or the smaller guys out there, or the people who have just started, so they're a little bit on the smaller side, who weigh more like 10 stone, you know, like 140 pounds, 60 kilos, that sort of range. These kind of guys, or 60, 70 kilos, that sort of range. These kind of guys their cycles will last between 4 to 6 weeks. So they will do light phase workouts for 4 to 6 weeks. And bear in mind, as I say, a light phase workout is where you do a few sets, multiple sets of whatever weights that you pick for typically 16 to 20 reps. So you get a real nice pump. In addition to this, during your light phase, you're also incorporating in the end of every workout cardiovascular work. So you will do some form of cardiovascular work, and you'll do it hard as well. You'll do it to a very intense level. So whatever cardiovascular you pick, it doesn't matter, but it could be rowing, it could be cycling, it could be running. Okay, they're normally the top 3 to go for, because the intensity on those can be increased quite easily. Nordic ski, you know, which is cross trainer and stuff, it's harder to make that more intense as you go along. You can do, but it's not something that I would recommend, because I don't find it's intense enough for your cardiovascular. Although the most intense, and perhaps too intense, so again something that's not typically used, is the stepper. Now, once you've done your 4 to 6 weeks, if you're a little guy, but if you're a big guy, you'll be looking more like, if you're my weight, for example, I'm 19.5 stone, so I weigh 273 pounds roughly, or 123 kilograms. When you're a big guy like me, I will stay in each phase for at least 12 weeks, but I could be in it for up to 16 weeks. It's amazing actually that bigger guys, for some reason, and it's very well known amongst the powerlifters or anyone who competes in any strength event, that typically when it comes to peaking for an event, you know, peaking your strength, getting your maximum strength out for an event, typically it will take you, the bigger you are, it will take you longer to peak to your maximum strength. Whether that's because your strength is that little bit further beyond where normal levels, or whether it's just because you've got more muscle and so you have to work the muscle more, I don't know, and I don't believe anyone really knows the answer to it. But it doesn't really matter why. The simple fact is, the bigger you are, the longer you'll stay in your cycle or your phase. As I say, someone like me will be 12 to 16 weeks. So you can imagine it, some people will be able to do all 3 phases in 12 weeks, whereas I will have only done my light phase during that period of time. So for me, I typically spend an entire year peaking, which is what you expect. A big guy like me should only really compete once a year, and this is what this type of training is used for. If you imagine it, cyclical training, peaking training, where your maximum strength is at the end of the cycle, end of the last cycle. Well, that's used for people who want to train and compete in strength events, for example, isn't it? Okay. So then, once you've done your light phase, which I say is typically 16 to 20 reps on a relatively light weight, around about 50% of your maximum, you'll then move into your medium phase workouts, where the weight gets a little bit heavier. You'll gradually start increasing the weight. So you might go up to 60%, and then eventually 70%, and then 75%, and the heaviest you would go up to is 80% of your max. Okay, but you would work towards that. You wouldn't go straight into your 80%. You'd work towards that over the entirety of your phase. But here now, instead of doing 16 to 20 reps, you're looking to be trying to do sets of anywhere between sort of 4 to 12 reps really, but typically 6 to 12 reps. 4 would be right at the end of your medium phase, just as a preparation to get into your heavy phase. So there you go, you got your medium phase. Now the medium phase is where you'll probably gain will start to gain a lot of size and a lot of strength. You'll still be buzzing off all that cardio that you did in your light phase, and you'll still be doing cardio in your medium phase also, but you'll be decreasing the intensity of the cardio just a little bit. Okay, so you'll be doing your cardio, but you'll either, instead of doing it 5 times a week, you'll be doing it 4 times a week, or you'll be doing it 5 times a week, but you'll be decreasing the amount of calories burnt per session by decreasing the intensity down just a little bit, because by decreasing the cardio, you're allowing your body to have that little bit of extra energy to put into muscle growth, which is where we're starting to aim towards. Okay, now the last and final phase, the third phase, okay, is where if you're a competitive lifter, this is where you would want to end up. Okay, and the third phase is your heavy phase. This is where you're lifting your heaviest possible weight, so anywhere between 75% to 100% of your maximum strength is maximum lift is what you'll be doing. Okay, and typically you'll be working probably more around the 90% mark. You never really go up to 100%, except, you know, on rare occasions. And for all this, obviously the reppage that you'll be looking at is probably a maximum of 4 reps. Every set will be a maximum of 4 reps, but typically towards the end of the heavy phase you'll be doing singles. You'll be doing 1 rep, or at most 2 reps for every set. And the sets that you do, you might only do 3 sets, and then you'll walk away. At the end of your heavy phase, when you really start peaking your strength, you'll do say, you know, 3 singles, and that's it, and just walk out. And so that is what cyclical training is, and that is how I have built my strength and size up over time. Obviously, once the heavy phase is over, you then move back into your light phase, and that's quite hard, because during your heavy phase, your cardiovascular will be either present but in smaller amounts, like once or twice a week, or it'll be non-existent. You'll actually probably just give up towards the end of your heavy phase all of your cardio, which I don't particularly recommend, but it just typically is what happens, because your body is so spent lifting heavy weights that it doesn't have the energy in it to really go at, you know, full pace on a bike or a row or something along those lines. Okay, and so transitioning back from the heavy phase into the light phase, well, that can be very difficult indeed, especially because of the cardiovascular work. But regardless, as I say, this is a very valid way of training. It will stop you plateauing, and you can see reason why, because basically you're acting like the tide. You're going out and in, out and in, out and in. You aren't constantly putting your body under maximum pressure. In fact, actually, you're barely doing your maximum weight for any period, for only a few percentage of your training time are you actually trying to lift 1 rep max, for example. But in contrast, you're also not lifting, you know, huge amounts of reps over light weights for significant, only a maximum of a third of your training we dedicate to that anyway. And so it's a good way to make sure that your body doesn't stay focused on one type of training or another, is basically what I'm saying. Right guys, I hope you found that educational and useful and informative. I will see you soon.